And we are live on the June 20th installment of the Necessary Roughness podcast presented by Bite Size Sports. It is your usual co-host, Nick Winograd, here with new co-host, Zachary Marcus Keebler. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you for
So,
having me.
yes, sir. So, what we're going to do is we have a little run of show. My boy, Zach Keebler's been in the chat last couple of weeks, chirping at us, chirping at Johnny, chirping at his Vikings, and we have a run of show. We're going to talk a lot about, Keeb and the Giants and whatever's going to go on this 2023-24 season. So, Keeb, I'm excited to have you here. We're going to go about an hour 25, and just Johnny couldn't be with us, so we got you. Next best thing.
Was really hoping to see Johnny on here.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. We're going to miss him. So what we're going to do is the first thing I'm going to get into is Joy Taylor, who used to be the co-host with Colin Coward, who's now doing some other things. She just made a questionable quote on her show. I'm going to share my screen and just show everybody what she said. So she said Saquon Barkley is the only reason the Giants have been relevant, with nobody takes Daniel Jones serious without Saquon. Zachary Marcus Keebler, how do we feel about that?
I think that's kind of crazy. Saquon hasn't been absolutely productive. I think last year he had about 15 passing touchdowns, being more of a game manager type role, but started to really pick it up toward the end of the season. I don't think that we win that playoff game if it wasn't for Daniel Jones. He was making spectacular passes, just being able to hit anyone in stride, not really making any mistakes, and everything like that. But a lot of the attention is on Saquon, given how much production that he gives within the offense. There is no Giants without Saquon, but there's also no Giants without Daniel Jones. Because say you put another quarterback in there, I think we went 10-7 last year, something like that.
Either that or 9-8, yeah.
You put, I don't know, Marcus Mariota in there, and you're maybe winning 6-7 games. So I think Daniel Jones has the ability to elevate his teammates, and I think that he is a main reason the Giants are relevant. But I see where she's coming from, like I said, with the amount of production that Saquon gives you in the offense. But I think that that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, especially to say on show that he literally just got the bag from the Giants too, and now we're saying that he's not even a relevant player. So
yeah. I think any quarterback in the current market is going to get a bag. He got one a little higher than most guys would. But
he's literally being paid just a little less than Josh Allen. So obviously the Giants and Brian Dable really value him highly. Joy Taylor does not, but whatever. I'm pretty sure, isn't she a Giant? No, she's a Dolphins fan, but whatever. So the next thing we're going to go into is Saquon Barkley potentially holding out. There's no contract on the table yet, and without the new contract, he's potentially going to hold out. So I don't actually in my opinion, I don't see it happening. But Keeb, if you were the GM of the New York Giants and it wasn't Dave Edelman and Brian Dable at the helm, what would you do about this situation?
So I saw a quote from Saquon. It's not verbatim, but it was along the lines of I'm not going to ask for a huge contract. I just want to be paid what I think I'm worth, essentially, with everything that he's been through, which I think was in the range of 15 to 18 million a year, which is kind of crazy for a running back. But again, if I were the GM, I would give him the money that he wants, because it's you can't run a lot of these pass options or anything like that unless you have a running back of Saquon's magnitude. He's obviously, I'm biased, but he's the best running back in the league. So I think that the best running back in the league should be paid the highest for a running back in the league. It comes down to that. But if I were the GM, I'm giving him probably 16, 17 million a year over, I don't know. I don't know the average year.
I mean,
I don't know like the average contract year amount, but I would give him like 16 mil a year for like 4 or 5 years. Because he showed coming off the ACL tear that he's still going to be productive as long as he has an O-line. We upgraded the O-line a little bit in the draft as well, I believe. But yeah, I think that he should be getting paid anywhere from 15 to 18.
So you're saying that if you were the GM, you'd say, Saquon, get in my office. We're paying you the money, and we need you because obviously, as Joy Taylor said, there's no Giants without, or there's no relevancy in New York without Saquon. So I guess it's very important to pay him, especially with these guys. They'd be holding out. Running backs. It feels like 2 to 4 years you're amazing, and then all of a sudden you're either done or like we saw it with Lynch, we saw it with.
Fournette's coming up a little bit now, but still he had that little stint where he was really good and then he wasn't good, and then he went to Tampa Bay and he was fine.
Yeah, he's okay now. He's playoff Lenny. He's better in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. But we saw it again with Dalvin Cook. All of a sudden now the Vikings don't even want him, even though he's like an all-pro, and maybe they don't see what they need to be seeing in him. So. I agree. I think Saquon should be getting paid. I think he's only 26. He could probably run at this magnitude for the next like 4 to 5 years. So I'd say you pay him for 4 to 5 years, then let him walk and hopefully get a Super Bowl out of him. But if you're going to draft the guy number 2 overall and not pay him money, that just
I think part of it is that they're realizing that they overpaid for Daniel Jones a little bit, so they're trying to have some flexibility of paying Saquon. So they don't have to pay so much, but at the same time, like you can't do that. Like you messed up with one contract, you still have to give someone what he's worth.
Yeah, and then I guess in a way they didn't realize that when they were paying Daniel because he's a quarterback. They're just ridiculously highly. People make it seem like quarterbacks run the league, which in a way they do, but at the same time, if you don't have a top 5, top 10 guy, which I don't think Daniel Jones is personally. You don't pay them top 5, top 10 money, and now they have a top 2, top 3 running back, and they can't pay him the top 1 because they can't pay him that because they paid Jones that all that money last offseason. So what are you gonna do? I do agree. You got to make your star player happy. He is the best player.
I think Daniel Jones being overpaid is like what the market's going, but like the direction the league is in, like running backs are becoming like not as essential because you have guys like Deebo Samuel who can be a running back receiver. So you invest your money into them because they can last a little longer. So the running back is kind of being like neutralized now. But then again, you still need someone who's going to run up the gut on the goal line, like in big moments and things like that. And you need to have a solid running back. You need to have a guy that can break out. You need to have a guy who can see like the A-hole, the B-hole, and go through those, things like that. And Saquon does that very well.
As a Giants fan, Keeb, from the outsider's perspective looking in, like, what do you feel about the other running backs the Giants have kind of like surrounded Saquon with? You always talk about a quarterback and what you surround a quarterback with, wide receiver, running back, but like Saquon can't carry the entire load because obviously we've already seen him get hurt a multitude of times in his short career. Who are like the guys behind him, and do you feel comfortable with those guys?
What's his name? Matt Breida. I really like. Okay. He's been very good. We kind of have like a Zeke Tony Pollard situation where it's like Zeke is like the main guy, but then you have Tony Pollard who can come in and then get you a touchdown like on the goal line to save some hits for Saquon. Things like that. So I really like Matt Breida. We just drafted another running back in case things do go south with Saquon's negotiations.
Yeah, Eric Gray, right? Eric Gray.
I think so. He's not like highly touted, but like he's pretty decent. Mm-hmm. Obviously not the first round pick that Saquon was, or Saquon was.
Yeah, he was
the second overall. Second overall, yeah. So you never see that. So, yeah, I like Matt Breida. I like the running back pickup, but obviously I want the best running back in the league to come back. I don't want him to walk to, let's say, not the Eagles. They just got Deandre Swift, but I don't want like the Cowboys picking him up and then him going for 800 yards a game on us or anything like that. Yeah. It's just I like the supporting cast. I think it's very good. I think we just need an O-line upgrade more.
I really like you, Evan Neal, but outside of that, I feel like it's kind of just stagnant.
Evan Neal has a lot of potential. He didn't do great for us in that playoff game against the Eagles. Like, he was just getting eaten up every play. But it just comes with an experience, and he'll figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's highly touted out of college. There's been so many Giants guys that have been, selected that are offensive linemen. I got a defensive lineman, but I feel like this is kind of a new age, getting the All-Pro Dexter Lawrence, and you have, Evan Neal. I feel like these guys are like these big bodies are finally coming for the Giants, playing really well. So it's cool to see it. Speaking of rookies coming in, we're talking Jalen Hyatt. I mean, he's been really, really highly regarded and valued by the Giants fans, and inside the building as well. Here in little rookie mini camp for everybody, mandatory. So, what's your initial feeling on Jalen, and do you think that he could be a potential number one option for Daniel Jones this season?
I don't think at the beginning. I think he's going to need a few games to settle in as like a second or third option, but he definitely has the potential to be a number one option. He has a 4.4 40-yard, so he can burn guys over the top, over the middle if he gets like a good slant route. He's really good at pass block or run blocking too, which is great if we get Saquon back, because that's good. He just has he has a few things to refine. They're not really major, but if he gets those and everything, then I think that he has the potential to be an amazing wide receiver. I think arguably the best in the class. Maybe not. Who'd the Ravens get?
The Ravens got Zay Flowers, or was that the Chargers?
No, it was Zay Flowers. I think he'll be the best wide receiver in the class. I don't think that'll be particularly close, but I think Hyatt can definitely be like the second best receiver in that class for sure. At the combine, he had the highest next gen score for any wide receiver. He has a 40-inch vertical, and he runs a 4.4, like I said. So I think having someone who you can go to with on the deep ball like that, especially on like weak defensive secondaries, is going to be like very crucial. But he's also a great route runner. So we'll see how Dable does with that. But we also just got Darren Waller, who's going to take touches away. You have Saquon, and obviously if he comes back, who will take touches away. But I think he'll be able to step up in big moments for sure.
Yeah, I really like that pick too, because the Giants needed to get a receiver, and you kept on seeing guys go off the board, and I was like, shit, they keep on losing out on this guy. I really saw Zay Flowers potentially go in there. Finally, they get their guy with Hyatt, so I was definitely happy to see that they were able to get their guy. So yeah,
and we haven't really made any receiver moves in the offseason. We got Paris Campbell, who I'm sorry, he's not a number one option by any stretch of imagination. Maybe not even a second option. I think he's a good number 3 option. We still have Isaiah Hodgins, who did amazing in that game against the Vikings, putting up over 100 yards and a 1 or 2 touchdowns. I want to say 1.
In that one game?
Yeah.
I don't remember. He was really good. He was a former Bill. So, and then he comes in. He had 351 yards, and that was in a couple games, and he had 4 touchdowns. I think it was 2 in the playoff game against Johnny's Vikings. Sorry about it. But yeah, Hodgins should be the number one option, but I think if Jalen Hyatt decides to just be a stud like he should be, then he could definitely take that, because it's definitely up for grabs.
I think we definitely have one of the most interesting wide receiver rooms in the league. Let me pull up real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to look at our depth chart real quick. Yeah, we still have Darius Slayton, obviously, who's been able to. I think he's coming off that injury, but once he's back, he's going to be a great option for Daniel Jones to get back. They have Hodgins listed as the wide receiver 1, Slayton at the 2, and Campbell at the 3. We have Wan'Dale Robinson, who I think who's going to be fantastic. Not anything crazy, but I think that he'll be able to do his role very well. We have Sterling Shepard still. We got Jamison Crowder, which I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show this. Like basically, this is what it is. You got Jalen, you got Paris, Jameson, Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, Slayton, Wendell. So yeah, it's pretty formidable, especially if some of these guys can turn out to be what they're supposed to be.
I think Jamison Crowder's a sneaky pickup for sure.
Right now. What's up?
I think Jamison Crowder's a sneaky pickup for sure.
Yeah, I mean the Bills picked him up last year, and he was supposed to be he was supposed to be the new Emmanuel Sanders, and then he tore his leg, not even ACL, he just like broke his leg in the Tennessee game week 2, and then he was done for the rest of the year. So I was really excited about it. He was great. Like he looked really nice. Like I was excited for Josh to really like connect with him all year, and then he gets hurt, he's done, and now he's a Giant. So like I'm excited for Daniel to potentially do the same thing that he did with Hodgins with Crowder. I mean, obviously he's a little older, but he still has that potential to be a guy.
Sure.
And veteran presence is always good for a young quarterback. So yeah, I liked that as well. So the next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to go to some fandom questions, some New York Giants, Zach Keeler fandom questions. I'm going to ask you, where was Keeler when the Giants won their 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots? So I'm going to ask you about the first one, and I'm going to ask you about your second experience winning the Super Bowl, which is an incredible feeling as a fan.
So I think the last time we won a Super Bowl was 2012 against Brady.
Yeah.
So it's already been 11 years. I was 10 at the time. So I was in my living room with my parents because every year for the Super Bowl, like no matter who the teams are, we always get snacks. We get like pigs in a blanket, chips and dip, all that. So I'm always in my living room for the Super Bowl with my parents, my sister, my brother. I think that one, my other brother was there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a great feeling. Like Eli Manning in the regular season is not a good quarterback, but just to see the way that he elevates his team in the playoffs is unreal.
Yeah.
So
and the defense really showed out as well in those years because
Justin Tuck sacking Tom Brady, which sacking Tom Brady is almost unheard of with how good he gets his offensive lines. Like that's why he was able to play till he was 45. So being able to see like a memorable play like that, surrounded by the people I love, like it just wasn't like it was a very good feeling.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so yeah, I mean like even like throughout the playoffs as well, like going into Lambeau, like cold ass weather, and beating Brett Favre, and then I mean that was like one of his last games as a Packer, if not the last, I think. So that was just an incredible. That was 2 incredible runs for the Giants. I remember a lot of players from those teams. So yeah, Eli, as we say, like not the greatest regular season quarterback, but he got them there, and it's kind of like in baseball when you have like 4 hits but you have 5 runs. It's like you're capitalizing on the least, like you go 9-7 and you just make it to the Super Bowl, and it's kind of like you don't get that many opportunities, but he made the most out of them, and that's something you can't take away from him. So
I miss those teams too with like Victor Cruz. Was JPP on? I think JPP was on the team at that time.
Maybe sure. A little later. I'm not sure.
I know like Victor Cruz. There's one receiver that I'm completely blanking on the name right now.
Yeah, JPP was a Super Bowl winner in the second one.
Yeah.
So that was awesome for him as well. I mean,
I think
didn't he win the Super Bowl with the Bucks when they beat the Chiefs? So he's a 2-time Super Bowl winner. That's pretty cool for him.
Especially after he blew off his finger with a firecracker.
That's true. That will always go down in Giants history. No doubt about that. So we're going to move on to the best moment. So I'm just going to talk about like the New York Giants and just like the best moment of being a Giants fan in your entire life. Just like the thing that you remember the most, and you were just like, I'm proud to be a fan of this team.
Definitely that second Super Bowl win. For sure, because they were going against a very good Patriots team, obviously with Tom Brady. But like I said, just to see the way that Eli Manning steps up in the big moments, it's just like incredible to watch. And Daniel Jones in that Vikings game reminded me exactly of how I felt watching Eli Manning against like
Yeah.
playoff teams. Because again, Daniel Jones, not a great regular season quarterback, but just to see his like what's the word? Confidence. To see his confidence just stepping up, making throw after throw, not even making any errors, was just really great to watch. So I would say 2012 was my favorite moment,
Yeah.
but that Vikings game, I had money on it. I had the Giants winning, so I also made a little bit of money off of it. But just to see a new level of Daniel Jones going into a contract year was just like amazing to watch, and I was a huge fan of that, especially seeing the way that we locked down Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, except we let fucking who was there? Sorry,
It was Hawkinson. It was Hawkinson, right? He went off.
Yeah, their tight end.
Yeah, Hawkinson.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. But
it looks like we got some fan questions. So we got Big Ash's Big Day. What's your favorite Super Bowl food? And she says at Keebler. What would you say?
I always go with pigs in a blanket. Every time that there's a big game for anything, I ask my parents to get.
Seems like she's agreeing with you on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, I would agree with you.
That's my favorite one by far.
I think that's just a staple. Yeah.
My other one would probably be hint of lime Tostitos with French onion dip. Fantastic.
Madison says that she wants to ask a question as well. So let's see what she's got for us.
We'll take some questions.
Well, we're going to take some fan questions right now. We'll break in the action of the football questions, apparently. And then we got a new segment that I have. What is she going to say? She just said, can you answer some of our questions? Madison says, all right. Well,
I don't know how to respond to that exactly. I think that might be a little too political.
Right now, but that's okay. She's got a question. Number one, who is the hottest player? Number two, favorite Super Bowl food. We just talked about the Super Bowl food. Who's the hottest player? I would have to go with Joe Burrow. He's the hottest player in the NFL. Who would you say?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right and not answer that question. But yeah, my favorite Super Bowl foods. Top three. Number one, pigs in a blanket. Number two, chicken wings. For sure, like barbecue wings, the way my dad makes them. He gets like this Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce. And then number three, simple cheese and crackers.
Trevor comes in right now. Trevor, what's up, man? How are you? Is pig in a blanket a big New York food? I don't know. I think it's more of just like a staple around.
It's a big me food for sure.
Yeah, it's a big you food. I mean, either way. Ashley goes, yes, Trevor, we love them here. Yeah, for sure. Trevor's from Kansas City, big Chiefs fan. So
big Chiefs guy. I think I remember him from last time that I was in here.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think it is. I guess it isn't. It's a big. I remember one of my favorite moments was I had a pig in a blanket and I went underneath an actual blanket. I think that was one of the coolest moments. So I did that. That's my best experience with pigs in a blanket. But yeah, I love having them for the Super Bowl as well. So what we're gonna do now is after that little comment section sporadic thing, we're gonna go into a new segment that I'm gonna call This or That. So Keeb, I'm gonna go into a bunch of different topics, and it's literally just one or the other, and you're just gonna go rapid fire.
And then I'll explain it after.
What?
And then I'll explain it after we get through them.
You can explain it afterwards, after we do it quickly, and then we're going to go back to each one.
Okay.
And we're going to do it that way. So, first one. Are you ready? Are you ready, by the way? Because this is going to be quick.
I am so ready.
You're so ready. Okay. Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Burgers or steak?
Steak. If it's cooked right.
Burrow or Mahomes?
Mahomes.
Brecky Hill or Livy Dunn?
Livy Dunn, for sure.
Pete Alonso or Saquon Barkley?
Pete Alonso.
Madden or 2K?
2K. Sure.
Brandon Jacobs or Saquon Barkley?
Saquon.
Eli or Daniel Jones?
Eli.
Okay. I like it. That's all I had for you. So let's go back. So pizza or pasta, burgers or steak? You went with pasta. You went with steak?
Steak if it's cooked properly. Yeah.
If it's cooked the right way. Okay. So I guess you just – I was surprised by the pasta. I think that you could have gone with pizza. That's what I would have done. I just had it for dinner.
I'm a huge pizza guy, but fettuccine Alfredo, penne alla vodka – there's just so many different variations of pasta that you can make, like pasta with ground beef, things like that. You can just make it so many different ways. Lasagna, ziti, just so many different ways to make good pasta.
Yeah, but there's so many different to debate you. There's so many different topics on pizza. Trevor goes A-Rod or Jeter.
So Jeter, because he doesn't take steroids.
Ashley goes Anthony Volpe or literally anyone.
Literally anyone else.
Okay. All right, so then I went into the
I would rather take Stephen Hawking at shortstop.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so then we went into Burrow or Mahomes. You said
Mahomes.
You said Mahomes? Okay.
Head to head, Burrow.
Burrow.
Because Burrow always gets the best of Mahomes.
If Mahomes is playing anybody else, you got Mahomes over Burrow.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But head to head, I take Burrow.
Okay. Then we talked about Pete Alonso, Saquon Barkley. You said Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso is doing so much more. Like, not so much more for the Mets, but he's a big reason why we've won so many games.
Sure. Let's see if they're winning right now. They are losing 3-0 right now. Yeah. So then we said Madden or 2K. You said 2K. I think it's just because you're better at that. But
I don't want to like brag, but I will drop anyone off in 2K. I don't care.
Okay. Ashley says Lindor. Yeah, one of our favorite Makinari guys. Absolutely. Favorite players for sure. Just had a kid. Congrats. And then we went Brandon Jacobs or Saquon. I just threw that in there because I know you love Saquon, but Brandon Jacobs is just a legend as a running back. Him and Ahmad Bradshaw had an amazing running back.
I think Saquon will finish higher all time than Brandon Jacobs. For sure.
I think so too. And then I said Eli. I finished it with Eli or Daniel Jones.
I would take Eli.
Yeah.
Better production and less money.
Trevor says Andy Pettit or Mo.
One's a starter, one's a reliever, but I have Rivera higher all time.
Yeah. And I love Andy Pettit though, because I was a lefty. He was awesome to watch. Ashley says this is a football show. We can't talk baseball. Oh, we can.
Yeah. And we can talk WNBA if you really.
That's okay. Yeah, we talked about 2K. Yeah. So we're talking about this or that now. After you said that Daniel Jones is not on a higher trajectory than of Eli Manning, I got a question for you. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Winning 2 Super Bowls against the GOAT, having 57,000 career passing yards, which I believe is top 10 all time. Having a higher touchdown to interception ratio, making Pro Bowls, and just seeing the way that he can elevate his team, I say absolutely he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and then just like the way that he kind of just like, yes, he didn't throw for 300 yards against like New England in the Super Bowls, but like he wasn't afraid of the New England. Like they were literally undefeated throughout the entire season. They went undefeated in the playoffs, except for the last game. And Eli was like, you could totally be intimidated by that and say like, shit, like we don't have a chance against this team. Or you can have your defense star out for you and make the throws that you need to make in the right moments. And in the Super Bowl, I mean, against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, that's really hard to do. And I was, really impressed. He's got to be a Hall of Famer. He did it again. I feel like Tom would be so mad.
Yeah, he did the first time, and then 2 years later, he was like, yeah, run it back.
that's unbelievable, and just like takes a lot of heart and grit to go, on the road. Those playoff games were not at home by any means. Matt Eli's him. We got another one from Trevor. Patriots or Eagles? Oh my gosh!
Like this year.
I guess he's talking all time. So all time, I'm gonna go Eagles because I'm a Bills fan, and then this year Eagles. But
yeah, are we talking this year? Obviously, I'm going Eagles. As much as that pains me to say.
All time, unbiased Patriots.
Yeah, all time Patriots for sure.
Yeah.
Just like that, just like the Belichick era, like goes higher than all of what the Eagles have done.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about like greatest of all time here with Brady and Belichick, and I don't think the Eagles have anybody that's the greatest of all time, but they have a great franchise.
Like they've had very good of all time, but they haven't had the greatest.
Very good of all time. Not the greatest of all time. I guess the greatest of all time takes that. So talking about the Giants, and I guess a little bit here, because Ashley mentioned, she says that she thinks that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT, which is cool.
I don't. Okay, listen. Skill-wise, I'm not talking about like accomplishments or anything like that.
Yeah.
Actual skill, I agree with that.
You think Aaron Rodgers skillfully and talent-wise, you're saying?
Take all the accolades away.
Yep.
Talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
But I have Tom Brady as the GOAT for sure.
Actually says who else could play on hard drugs, and that he's sexy. I mean, listen, Aaron Rodgers, he goes into like that mountain phase, like he's a mountain man, and then he goes out of the mountain man phase, and then he's like, I'm ready for the first day of school or whatever. But like, I think right now he's more of like ready for the first day of school. At the end of that like Packers run, he was scary to look at, man. It's like for real. He was just in a dark place. I'm glad for his sanity that he's in New York now. I'm not scared of him. I think he's a 40-year-old washed-up player, but I mean, at this point,
he just won back-to-back MVPs like 2 seasons ago.
I know. I just like what I saw last year, and then with like the Jets, it just doesn't like.
I think the Jets have a top defense in the league. Along with that, they have Breece Hall.
They have a really good team. They're a really good team.
They have Breece Hall coming back week probably 6.
Yeah, they got Garrett Wilson and
Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard,
guys, Lazard and Cobb. Is Cobb a Jet? Like what? Cobb is a Jet too. I think he brought all of his little friends, right?
Yeah, they're the Green Bay Jets.
They're the Green Bay Jets, and then on defense they're the New York Jets, because that defense with Robert Saleh, that's exactly what he envisioned when he came from San Francisco. I think that that's exactly what he wanted to do, and now he has like one of the best defenses in the league, and it's incredible.
I think
Mangold's still a Jet. He's not at this point.
I think in the regular season, the Jets are still going to finish second in that division behind the Bills.
Yeah,
but I can definitely see them making the Super Bowl this year, which is absolutely crazy to say, given how.
That being said, we go to the next segment called Better Upside, Jets or Giants. And you just said that the Jets could make the Super Bowl this year, and you're a Giant fan, so this is a tough question, man.
It depends on how the Eagles perform. I think that if everything meshes for the Eagles, hot take, I have them both finishing second in their division in the regular season. I still have the Giants above the Cowboys. Just knowing the nature of the Cowboys, they're not going to be fantastic. I know they just traded for Brandon Cooks from the Texans, which upgraded their wide receiver room a little bit. I don't think that they really made any other drastic changes other than trading for that one receiver. I could be wrong.
Cowboys?
Yeah.
They also got Stephon Gilmore, who might be past his heyday.
He's past his prime. He's still good, but
he's still good though. And him and Diggs, I like that little duo. Obviously, Diggs gives up a lot of yardage, but
Gilmore, I hate Diggs. He's trash. No. oh, I can intercept the ball 13 times, but I can allow 80,000 yards a season. Like, that doesn't make you good. It makes you more lucky that you could just.
I think that him and Stefan like were receivers like back in the day when they were growing up, and then Trayvon was like, I'll just be a cornerback. So like he plays the position like a wide receiver. So obviously he's going to be able to make a lot of plays, on the ball, but
he also gets cooked.
A ton of yards.
It's crazy. I'm just reading what Trevor said. No way Jets are making the Super Bowl. Rodgers isn't beating out Burrow, Allen. I think he beats out Herbert for sure.
I mean, Herbert still hasn't proven anything.
Herbert literally choked against Trevor Lawrence, who had 4 picks in the first half of that game, and they still managed to beat the Chargers.
Yep.
It
was incredible. That game was unbelievable. Just I thought the Chargers. I think there was he threw 3 picks in the first half. I don't even know. Maybe it was the first quarter, and I was like, poor Trevor. It's his first game. And then we're going out like this, and then you turn it on
and then all of a sudden, bang! Just
and he started making really good plays too. He was throwing touchdowns to Zay Jones, former Phil. He was throwing touchdowns to Evan Ingram, former Giant, and all of a sudden they win it and with a field goal.
I'm also very high. I'm also very high on Trevor Lawrence. So
so am I. So.
Back to what Trevor said. I think. I don't know, because Rodgers has played in the NFC his entire career.
Yep.
So we don't know exactly how well it's going to stack up against Burrow, Allen, Mahomes. The Chiefs' wide receiver room got worse. They lost Juju. I think they lost another big name. Didn't really bring anyone in. They could still bring in D-Hop. If they bring in D-Hop, obviously, that just...
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen. Go ahead.
What'd you say?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, that would be insane to add D-Hop to Mahomes. That's just, especially with Kelsey taking the other. I'm also very high on Travis Kelsey. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is a hot take. No disrespect to Tony Gonzalez. I have Travis Kelsey as the best tight end.
Really? You do? Yeah. I mean, the way that he's going, at this point, people already think he's number 1. I think at the end of the day, he does become a number 1. Tony G is always going to be a top 2 tight end now. I was looking at this. If it loads in. So Cook, Dalvin's interested in teaming up with DeAndre. I think that would be unbelievable. It does kind of remind me of Kyler and Katie when they want to team up, but I could totally see this happening, and I think
it makes sense for both of them to join. It makes sense for both of them to join the Chiefs. I mean, I know that the Chiefs want to develop Pacheco. Fantastic running back. What he was able to do was unbelievable. But if you have a chance to bring in a guy like Dalvin Cook, and obviously the Chiefs have a pretty solid O-line, and then adding a top when he plays a top 5 wide receiver in the league in D-Hop, it's just insane what potential that team would have.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a Chiefs team that when you're talking about having players around you, they had Travis Kelsey, Kareem Hunt, by the way, who was unbelievable running back when they had him, and Tyreek Hill. They lose 2 of those 3, and then they still win the Super Bowl with rookies like Isaiah Pacheco, with rookies like Sky Moore, both of whom were making huge plays, not in the playoffs. Sky Moore had touchdowns in the Super Bowl. That's unbelievable. I feel that's just, these guys are not, you always talk about Super Bowl experience, playoff experience. They had none. And they just went in there and they were catching touchdowns from Mahomes. That's unbelievable.
And of course, we give up Kadarius Toney, who was fantastic in the playoffs for the Chiefs. It's just unbelievable. I wish the Giants kept Kadarius Toney. Obviously, the turf didn't help what injuries he was dealing with, but man, I was heartbroken after that trade, just knowing what potential he had.
It was tough just because he wasn't being utilized the right way, and then obviously when he goes to Kansas, I'm sure you knew it too when he got traded there. You probably thought, oh, he's going to become one of their top receivers now, and that's just how it goes because
I don't know. No, he was he was like hurt, and then he got traded to the Chiefs, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not injured anymore."
I'm not injured anymore. Yeah, he didn't want to go to the Giants, even though he probably would have been a really nice addition to that offense. He needed to kind of be there at the end for the Giants because they would have really used him. But it's unfortunate. Give me a minute. So the next segment I have.
My dad came in. My fault.
Oh, that's fine. The next segment I have is the top 5 Super Bowl contenders this season. I think you can start with I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to let you go, but I got my 5 if you have your 5.
So I'll do. You want to just make it easier and do 6, 1 from each division?
Sure. First answer Trevor's question. Keith, you said wide receiver core got worse, but Tony full off season, Sky year 2. Adding in Rice, I think they'll be just fine. Juju seem to be washed up. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
At the same time, it doesn't matter. As we just saw last year, it didn't even matter. They just win the Super Bowl.
As long as you have Mahomes, your receiving room is gonna be amazing regardless. But I don't know. Juju, I think was a big loss. Wait, what do you mean Titans with D-Hop? Is D-Hop going to the Titans?
That's James. He's a Titans fan. He said Titans with D-Hop.
Yeah, I don't think D-Hop would be dumb enough to go to the Titans.
I mean, he's not playing with any quarterback, and also James, I'm sorry, man, but he left Tennessee without a deal. I think that if he's going somewhere, it would be either the Patriots or the Chiefs, just because the Pats have a really important meeting coming up with him, and the Chiefs are just such a good option.
Hey,
and
man, all I'm saying is, sorry to cut you off. All I'm saying is, do not sleep on the Giants snagging D-Hop.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping on it.
Do not sleep on it, bro. Nick was clowning me for anytime I would mention it, he was like, "No, he's coming to the Bills or he's going to the Chiefs."
I realize we don't have enough money now.
Yeah, I was like, just wait until the Giants. I want us to re-sign Saquon first, obviously.
Yeah,
after we re-sign Saquon and if we have enough money, I believe that D-Hop will sign with the Giants to be the number 1 option.
I mean, yeah, I could see it just because – I mean, the only issue is that you did bring in a number 1 in Kenny Golladay that just – I mean, I don't even know what to say about the guy.
Oh, yeah, 1 touchdown in, the last regular season game against the Eagles. Total bullshit.
I don't even know what to say about the guy. He's the ultimate flop of flops. When they acquired him, I thought that he would be an amazing player for them and just, exactly what Jones needed. It was the opposite. Really unfortunate. But I don't think that Deandre Hopkins can do that just because of how much success he's had. He's been an all-pro. He's been in big playoff games. Kenny Golladay wasn't any of that. He was with the Lions with Matt Stafford. He made some cool catches. He had some good seasons when they won 4 to 6 games. Deandre's been in those situations. He's had good quarterbacks. I think that wherever he ends up, with Dalvin Cook or without, I think they'll have a bounce back year. Arizona was not it for him. I saw that it wouldn't be it. But I think the Giants would be a really cool addition. I think the Giants getting him would be a cool addition.
Yeah. Back to the segment. So here's who I have out of every division. For the AFC West, I have the Chiefs. Obviously, you can never count out Mahomes. With any team he's on, even if you put him on the Texans, they're still winning 5 or 6 games, which is 5 or 6 more than they would this season.
Yep, absolutely.
In the AFC East, I have the Jets. I'm sorry.
You got the Jets. Okay.
Yeah. In the NFC East, I have the Eagles, which pains me to say. I still have us above the Cowboys, though. So. NFC West, I have the 49ers. Never count out their defense.
Really? Okay.
Never. Especially now that they have Trey Lance coming back too, and it's going to be a dogfight between Purdy and Lance for that starting spot. I think that they have tremendous potential for what they can do. In the Saints are in the NFC South, right?
NFC South, yeah, with Bucks, Panthers, Saints, Falcons.
Yeah, out of that division, Saints sweep, in my opinion. That's not really any discussion. I have them making the playoffs this year. And
Yep.
then what division am I missing? The AFC South?
AFC South, yeah, Jags, Titans, Colts, Texans.
Yeah, again, I think that the Jaguars come out of that division again, things like that. So between the Chiefs, Jets, Jags, Eagles, Saints, and 49ers, I think that it's going to be that's such a between the Chiefs and the Jets, probably.
Nathan's in the chat. Nathan with the Bears.
I was thinking about saying the Bears. They just traded for DJ Moore. They have a good defense. Justin Fields is an animal.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to have a very good season. I could see him being a top 10 quarterback this season for sure. Yeah, I think my choice is between the Chiefs or Jets.
Is it really? And you can't decide? Okay. Wow.
Because again, you have Mahomes, who's going to go down as the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football.
Yeah.
But you also have Aaron Rodgers, who he has a chip on his shoulder, and he's on a new team, so he's going to want to perform well, especially in a market like New York.
Yeah, absolutely. He's either going to crumble, because like right now with Rodgers, they're lobbing softballs at him. Like nothing's happened. They're in OTAs. They're in mini camp. Nothing's happened. He's come to the mini camp. There's nothing wrong yet. But once like that first problem happens with like a younger receiver on the team, like a Garrett Wilson or anybody like that, and he's like, oh man, like something, then they're gonna eat him alive. And I feel like that either that makes a man in New York or it breaks a man. We've seen it happen so many times, countless times, where it's made a man, and guys have no problem with it. Like we just saw it with Jalen Brunson. He has no problem with the media. But then you got a guy like, Luke Voigt or Joey Gallo or Julius Randle, and they're like all pissed off all the time. It doesn't work. Zach Wilson, that happened again too. So I think Aaron Rodgers is somebody that I really don't know, because he can be so dark and weird, but then he can be so jolly and happy and like a nice guy. So I really don't know. He's a really interesting guy. I think he's fit for the Jets. I think at this point in his career, he's just trying to get a Super Bowl and get out of there. For me, I got the Bills, I got the Bengals, I got the Jags, and I got the Chiefs, which is the same as last year, so I'm being boring. And then I think I have the Cowboys winning the division, actually. And then I have the Vikings. I have the Saints as well. And then I do have the Seahawks. So my top five.
I completely forgot about the Bengals. Sorry, Joe Burrow. That's on me. But aren't they losing Mixon?
I don't think it would matter.
I mean, that's still a pretty big loss given how good he is as a running back.
Yeah. Trevor says Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Bills, 49ers. Nathan says Dolphins, Bengals, Jags, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bears. For me, I guess it would be Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Bills, and then I'd go with no one from there. I guess like the Jets. Yeah, honestly, the Jets or the Dolphins. The thing about the Dolphins is we haven't talked about them all pod, but I think that they could really make some noise. It just all depends on,
especially after getting Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, they get Jalen Ramsey. It all depends on how all of that meshes together. If it meshes poorly and Tua's hurt and he can't play anymore, and Tyreek Hill is the police is like he's getting a domestic battery charge. Like if that's already an issue with him, like
and Skylar Thompson just comes out, balls out.
Yeah, we know that they're a really talented, really quick, really young team. We know that, but I mean, last year they crumbled and they had Skylar Thompson in the playoff game. I mean, like it could either go that way or it can go really well. I haven't seen it go really well just yet with Miami, so I'm not going to put him in that top five. But we have seen Rodgers be a really good player and like one of the greatest of all time, and we've seen the Jets be incredible last year before Zach Wilson kind of screwed it up for him, and then they had to kind of go without a quarterback. So I could
Even
totally
with Zach Wilson at quarterback, Garrett Wilson had over 1,000 receiving yards. Like,
yeah, that's unbelievable. Him and Mike White and Joe Flacco, whoever you want to put in quarterback, he was balling. So Nate says that Mixon's really yeah. I mean, he said some questionable things. He's kind of lowered his. I really like Pirine in Cincinnati. I don't think if Mixon leaves or whatever, Pirine is a really, really, really nice option.
he's solid. I like him a lot.
He's solid. Like, I'm not gonna say he's like the next Tony Pollard where he like can just come in and be like a stud. But Pirion's good. I think he's good for that team. I don't think that they need anything better than that. Just with how much they have on the outside with Jamar and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and it's just a lot to cover. As I know, because we just lost them. So
Nathan, Cowboys over Eagles is a crazy statement. That is a.
I said the same thing. For some reason on this podcast, we love the Cowboys, and I think we're all going to be wrong. But I just wanted to go with something different. And John,
it's the NFC East is going to go Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's very possible. You think the Cowboys are third? Yeah, and I think that if they are third, McCarthy's out of a job. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they'll still probably make the wild card, but I think the NFC East, the three teams will make the wild card again.
Okay, but
or
if they make
the division winner and then the two wild cards.
If they're third place and they make the wild card and they lose in the first round, he's still out of a job because I think Jerry Jones realizes at this point, if you're not going forward, we're kind of just planted here and we're not going anywhere. Once he's out of a job, the Cowboys are kind of go this way a little bit, just because like now we got to get a new head coach. Now, like, what are we doing? Is Dak the guy? So many questions coming to Dallas after this year. I think no matter what, I don't think they go 13-4. I don't think they make the NFC Championship game. So I think that when all of that happens, yeah, they're gonna go on a bad trajectory.
I mean, they really didn't do anything crazy this offseason. They got Brandon Cooks, and like you said, Gilmore, but like does that really change much?
I like what they did in the draft. I don't let Skip Bayless really wanted Dalton Kincaid and the Bills stole him, but it was Mozzie Smith that they got right after. I was trying to think of his name, Mozzie Smith. I think that a lot of people slept on him just because it was like, oh no, we didn't get the big tight end, right? And they lost Dalton Schultz. We didn't get the big tight end. We got Mozzie Smith. He's actually going to be a really solid player. I think that he was kind of a need for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played really, really well for them. And Cooks is a great pickup. Yeah, he's right. Nathan's completely
He's
right.
a great pickup, but does he really change the dynamic of a Cowboys team that's known for choking in big games or not performing up to expectations in the regular season? I don't think that he gives them that much elevation to be that much better of a team.
Yeah.
He's obviously a great pickup. I would love him on the Giants. I wish we traded for him, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't think he puts them in that next tier to be like a contender.
You got like franchise altering moves that like people see and they're like, shit, like this is going to be one of those moves that like kind of catapult us from being a wild card exit to this team can go far into the playoffs. I don't think Brandon Cooks at this stage in his career. I mean, he's been a great receiver, and yet he's been on countless teams. Like, what does that say about the player? Maybe he's just never a good fit for anybody. Maybe he'll be a good fit for Dallas, but I see it much more going as to he plays decently, they make the wild card, they lose, they get rid of him, and that's it.
Yeah.
So if that's how it goes, then it wasn't the greatest pickup because it didn't really help anything. So
I would love Brandon Cooks as a number one for the Giants. Like, we need him, but
oh yeah, absolutely. Giants paid too much for Andy Dalton with bad hands. Damn.
nah. Is that a shot at Danny?
I think it's a shot at Danny. Yeah.
Daniel Jones.
He did too much, but he still showed a lot more than anybody expected. I mean, he won a playoff game in his first playoff.
Daniel Jones is easily a top 10 quarterback this year. I don't really care what anyone says. I think that as long as the wide receivers perform how they're supposed to, I think that will elevate Daniel Jones' stats in order for him to be a top 10 quarterback. I think that he'll finish with about last season he finished it with 15 passing touchdowns. I think he'll be more in the 22 to 25 range this year.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 25.
And the thing about Daniel is that if he's at 22 to 25, how many is he getting on the ground? He's going to be like an elite 32 to 35 touchdown score overall with the 7 to 10 he'll have on the ground, because Dable is turning him into like a little bit of a Josh Allen, where he's running those type of plays, and Daniel's more than happy to oblige. Like there are all those plays that I saw as a Bills fan last year that the Giants were running, and Jones runs them really well. Maybe he doesn't have the same touch on some passes as Josh does. Maybe he doesn't have the same zip on the ball. But if he's able to get out there and, impose his will on defenders kind of respect that from you as a quarterback. And then, like, things become a little different and guys get open, and all of a sudden your offense is humming. And I think that's what we saw last year from the Giants a little later in the year. And I think we continue to see it. I think they're really working hard.
I really like that Statue of Liberty play that we ran. That was one of my favorite plays that I've ever seen. I mean,
it's unbelievable. And when they ran it in Buffalo and they run it into New York, and I was like, holy shit, like Dable is just such a magician. He's doing a great thing for him. The last thing that I'm going to go into tonight is Zach's top 5 New York Giants of all time. Obviously, we're only 22 years old, so we don't have like the minds of like a 60-year-old who knows back into like the older Super Bowl years. But who's your top 5 New York Giants of all time?
Number 1, undisputed. I've never heard anyone say a different answer. Lawrence Taylor. Yeah. Absolute defensive animal. There's not really much elaboration that I have to put on that. I think it's just the consensus. Best Giant of all time, LT.
Yep.
Number 2, Eli Manning. I have, again, 57,000 passing yards, top 10 all time in that regard. 2 Super Bowls against who everyone considers the GOAT. Just absolutely phenomenal. Number 3, I have Michael Strahan, who was just recent. I don't even know how long ago it was at this point, but I'm just going to say recently because my mind wants to tell me recently. Inducted into the Hall of Fame. Again, one of my favorite football analysts too, but that doesn't regard his playing career. But his playing career is absolutely fantastic. Amazing resume. Number 4, I got Tiki Barber. Phenomenal running back. I forget what the stat was, but I think he had like 11,000 rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. Which
Tiki Barber. Yeah, I mean he was unbelievable, and he was.
I think he was just shy of 11,000, right?
11. Yeah, just shy. He was 500 shy of 11,000. I mean, to get to 10K in your career is unbelievable for
as a running back. Like that's absolutely absurd. So I think Tiki Barber's number 4, and then just as an anecdotal kind of number 5 because of what he did to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, I got Justin Tuck. Sack the GOAT, absolute defensive monster. Not really anything you could do to guard him or anything like that. So I got Justin Tuck at number 5. Again, like I said, I'm 21 years old. I don't know these guys from the 50s and 60s and 70s. So I can't really talk about them too much, but I really like Justin Tuck. I'm a big fan, so I have him at number 5.
Absolutely. And I can agree with most of those. I think that when you talk about like the embodiment of Giants football, you're talking about Eli is like one of the greatest quarterbacks, right? And you're talking about LT. He's probably the best defensive player of all time. Undisputed, like in all of football, not just the Giants. Michael Strahan, just what can you say, right? Tiki Barber, these guys are legends, and yes,
their resumes just all speak for themselves. Like,
yeah, the resumes speak for themselves. I think there was guys like Y.A. Tittle and Phil Simms. They were great, right? But like, did they do the things that the guys that we're talking about here did? Not exactly, like not resume wise. So I think that these guys are definitely fair to put in the top 5. When you want to talk about maybe top 10, 15, you put in those type of guys, but it's like a Giants, Ring of Honor, Wall of Fame. So I would definitely say that those guys top 5, or that's definitely a fair assessment.
Just to have 11,000 rushing yards, like that's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, a lot of guys get to that just because you see the reason for that is you see like a 1,000-yard rushing season. We're talking about Tiki. You see an 11,000-yard rushing or 1,000-yard rushing season for a running back. You see like he's going to be in the top 5 or top 6. for the year. 11,000 means he did that for like 10 to 11 seasons.
He actually played he played with the Giants from 97 to 2006.
Yeah, that's 9 years.
Yeah. And
That's
he's one of only 4 players in NFL history with 5,000 rushing yards and 5,000 receiving yards.
That's unbelievable because nowadays you're seeing guys like that are 4 to 6 years, and it's like, oh, one of the greatest players like of this franchise because he was amazing for 4 to 6 years, 9 seasons, and breaking records well over 10,000 yards for his career. It's really, really impressive. Trevor goes no Plaxico? ?
Hang on. 1 second.
Are you like pulling something up?
Yeah.
Plaxico Burress, obviously one of the greats. Caught
Yeah,
that amazing.
he only played with the Giants for about 4 seasons, so I can't really put him up there in terms of greatest Giants. But in terms of wide receivers, he's fantastic.
Fair enough. And he caught like one of the greatest, most iconic touchdowns in Giants history in the Super Bowl. The first one they beat the Patriots with. So definitely got to put him in that top 15, 20. But so that's all we have for you guys tonight. It was a great show. A lot of nice comments. Always enjoyed that. Keeb, the first time you were here. Hope to get you back on. Obviously, with Bite Size, you got shows like The Bounce. We're talking NBA offseason, a lot of things. With the NBA, finals just ended, but, we're right back into it with the offseason.
I'm down to talk NBA offseason if you want.
Yes, sir. When we're talking about, biting early, we got early shows, and then on the weekend, we got shows that Johnny and Trevor and all these guys, another damn fantasy podcast, talking fantasy and just getting us ready for the 23 season. So thank you guys all. And Keith, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys later. Peace.